So welcome to the demonstration of EstateAssist this morning. My name's Tom Gilman. In addition to being the founder of EstateAssist, I am a practicing Ohio attorney based out of Ashland County and practicing in a number of counties, and been doing that for about 20 years now. And like many of you, I used other probate software for a long time, and as those things came to an end or unavailable, just decided one day that this was something I was interested in. And so we've launched EstateAssist and been around a little more than a year now. And so I'd like to take you through today and just show you a little bit of how EstateAssist works, and also mention a few things that we have coming up, some new features and changes that you'll be seeing soon if you join us. And so we'll start out here. This is the current estate administration dashboard. And the first thing that you'll see about EstateAssist that's a bit different than a lot of other softwares is we allow you to categorize your cases by case status. And you're not required to. You could have everything just in one open field, all of your open cases, like in this generic untitled field or box here at the top. You could have everything that way if you liked them just being in one big bucket. But, excuse me, if you prefer, you have the ability to have the cases categorized in these different boxes by status throughout the case administration. And I find this very helpful. My lead probate paralegal and I sit down about once every 2 weeks, go through our open cases to talk about things that need done and where things stand. And having them in these different categories allows us to see, what's the status? Is anything getting bottlenecked at a certain stage of the administration, and so on. And you can update those. Oh, somebody says our volume is a bit soft. Let me see if I can do something about that. All right. And so thank you for letting me know that. And so you can update the status of your cases as you go through to have them populate in different areas. And of course, if you're ready to prepare a new case, you simply click the new matter button. You can enter the name of the matter, select the attorney in your firm who will be handling it, what type of matter it is, and then you have the ability to have that case automatically show up for just the attorney and person creating it, or all support staff in the firm could be made aware of a case, so they're all automatically given privileges. And as we'll see here in a moment, you can update who has case privileges. That's not something that's carved in stone. Let's go ahead and take a look at an example case. And by the way, I guess I should say it, but all of the information that you'll see today is all made up and fake. I point that out because the nice folks over at YouTube, whenever we post training videos, they reject them the first time, saying that they have people's financial information in them and we shouldn't be sharing that. I remind them that Rutherford B. Hayes and Harriet Beecher Stowe are not currently with us, and then they relent and let us put our videos up. So this is the case dashboard. When you open a case or when you have a case that's existed, you see this dashboard of information about that specific case. The first thing that you'll see is that we have this header that exists on several of the screens throughout the case, and it's just sort of that top of mind information, right? The things that you might want to see as you're going through a case, as you open it up or you're working on it, just some of the pertinent information about the decedent, the date of death, the court, and the fiduciaries and their contact information. So you don't have to go digging for those things too much. You're also going to see a couple of links that automatically get created. So when we select a court or a county for our case, EstateAssist automatically has all of the probate courts in Ohio saved into it with all of their pertinent data, and we keep that updated as they change things. Our users are wonderful about keeping us updated with changes in the probate community around the state. Just a couple weeks ago, we got an email that one of our probate courts was changing their website, and we were immediately able to update to that court's new address. But automatically, when you select a county, you're going to have links created for the court's website and automatically to the court's local rules if that court has its local rules published online, which last time I looked, I think we were somewhere in the low 70s in terms of probate courts across Ohio that we had found their local rules online and were able to link to those. And as we said earlier, here's the section where you can select the different case statuses to update your case as it goes through the process. So when we create a new case, we would suggest you start out with the case details screen, which is here. And as you can see, it's just a couple of pages of questions of some of the basic information about the case. And so we would enter in the case number once we have it, of course, the county, the way that we want the name to appear on case captions, whether we want that capitalized or not. As some of the dates are established in the case, we can fill in those dates. And of course, things like whether it's test date or not. The estate account, if we're going to have a separate estate account, or you could put in information if you're using, say, your IOLTA account. Our decedent's biographical information, and if there's a surviving spouse, their information. And this is one of the first places we start seeing some of the typing saving. Notice we have a checkbox that says that it's the same address. No, we've got a typo there. Glad I saw that. If we have the same address as the decedent, we don't have to retype that. We can just check a box and have it automatically populate. And if the surviving spouse is also a fiduciary, it'll automatically pull their information for that. Co-fiduciary, if we have them. Our bond estimations for the front of the 4.0. And then appraiser information. And I always like to point out at this point, one of the nice things about EstateAssist is that it is a cloud-based application. So you are accessing it through an internet browser. Okay, we're currently looking at this through Microsoft Edge. Chrome does a good job. All sorts of browsers can work for this software. And one of the nice things about that is that many browsers today have autofill features that allow you to turn them on in the settings so that as you start to type in a familiar field, the software will automatically recognize what you're typing in and it'll allow you to shortcut it. And so here we have the appraiser information, and I point this out here because, I use the same appraiser in an awful lot of my cases. And so when we go to enter that, if we didn't have that information here today, and we just start to type it in, it's automatically going to pop up so that we can just click and select it. And it'll actually fill in the rest of his address too if we asked it to. And so that's just a really nice feature. That autofill saves an awful lot of time. We're going to go back out to the case dashboard. Now that we've entered our case details, the next thing we would do is to enter other interested persons. Now, the surviving spouse and the second fiduciary, co-fiduciary, anybody like that, there are places for us to check that those are also interested persons. So, we can mark down that, somebody is a surviving spouse or a child or descendant or whatever they might be. But as we go back to our interested person screen, we can start to add other interested persons to the case simply by clicking this Add Interested Persons button. And we have one simple screen where we can put in their title as we might want it for correspondence purposes. We'll see more about that in a moment. We can put in their name. If they are the trustee of a trust, we have a trust that's inheriting, then we can fill that information in. We have the ability to mark people as being deceased and for the software to say if they don't have any issue or descendants, just to help fill in our 1.0 more practically so the court understands the nature of the family tree. And then, of course, we have their contact information, relationship, and some check boxes. We also have the ability to indent people on the 1.0 if we like to sort of create a nested feel so that we can show people and how they show up. And so as we fill people in, they show up on this screen, and it allows us the ability to change ordering. There are several sections of EstateAssist where you can decide order of people. Now, it'll order them automatically as you enter them, but we have some users that really have a good reason as to why they want a certain family member listed before another, or a certain layout to the family tree, or of course, certain receipts listed first, certain assets, certain disbursements, things like that. And so EstateAssist has a lot of places where you can change the ordering. All right. Once we have entered our case details and our interested persons, we are able to start populating pleadings. And, one of the things that's a really significant difference between EstateAssist and some other probate softwares is that there's a lot of software that you have to go in, say, for each person or each asset or each disbursement, and you have to select, where do I want this to go? What document do I want this person listed on? What document do I want this asset listed on, or which accounting? And then you have to go back in and update that if you do multiple accountings or something like that. And EstateAssist is not that way. We've designed it to be relatively intelligent, that as you're checking things like relationship and things like that, the software should be able to simply look at it and know where to put people. And so the next documents I'm going to show you, you've seen all the data that's been entered in these two screens. And so all those questions we answered in the first two screens, we can go to our pleadings page and start seeing documents that have automatically populated. So our 1.0 here is going to just open up for us as an editable PDF. You can type into it. Okay, if there's something you wanted to put in after it was created, you could save that to your computer if you'd like. But it is going to go ahead and open up with everybody entered automatically. We didn't have to go back in and say, well, I want them on the front and I want them on the back, or I only want them on the back, or anything like that. It looked and knew what their relationship was and whether or not they were a vested beneficiary, and it simply put them in all the places where they need to go. And so you'll see we have people that are marked deceased that show up as deceased. We have a person that we marked as no issue. We nested or indented some issue below a deceased person. Our checkboxes fill. Our fiduciary names are underneath the signature line, and so on. Everything is filling in automatically. We didn't have to direct anything to happen. Okay. Similarly, and by the way, that only asked if we wanted to leave because I had typed something in, and it's asking if we want to save. Our 2.0 automatically populates with information. We didn't enter that fiduciary's address. Our 4.0 automatically populates with information. Everything is ready to print, ready to go. Now, another thing that you'll see as we come to this pleading screen is that we have two columns of forms. We have all of the Ohio standard forms down the left side. Also, we have some tax-related documents. Our SS4 automatically populates, our W-9 automatically populates, and so on. But then we also have this this right column for our local county where the case is venued. And so we have Hamilton County local forms listing here, and those are automatically filled as well. And we're currently at 20 counties, somewhere in the neighborhood of 700 forms automated, and we are on our way to having every probate court in Ohio, all local forms of all areas of probate practice. We're continuing to add them very regularly, trying to get out a couple a month as we can, and just on our way to getting everything in there. And of course, we listen to our users. If you become a user, we certainly keep track of the counties where our users are located and regularly practice, and we want to hear from them to get all their counties on as quickly as we can. All right, now that we've seen some pleadings, that would, of course, allow us to do our first set of pleadings, say 1.0 through 4s, by having just case details and interested persons entered. But the next phase of an administration, of course, is to start to manage the receipts and disbursements, or assets and bills. And so we have two icons here that allow us to start entering things. This is our receipt screen, where we can add new receipts. And we have these different buttons for different types of receipts. And we've done it this way in order to trim down all the questions you see on any given screen. Originally, we had a kind of a larger screen of add a new receipt, and there were so many different questions of all the different possibilities that we've trimmed it down to this list of potential types of asset. And so that's allowed us to shorten those screens and make the questions much more direct. So now if you go to say add a new vehicle, boat, etc., you have a pretty straightforward number of questions here related to year, make, model, things of that sort. We do allow you to track both probate and non-probate. We have some non-probate functionality coming very soon, but for now, most of the focus is on probate documents and probate assets. You'll also see that we do allow you to check if an asset is a motor vehicle going to surviving spouse by affidavit, or a boat or motor going to surviving spouse by affidavit. Another example, we could open, say, a financial account, put in the information, put in the financial institution, and it would go ahead and create that account. I'll pause for a moment to point out here that, with every receipt, you're entering some kind of description, okay? For financial accounts, you can list an account number, and then you can list an alternative public identifier. And if you do that, EstateAssist will automatically fill in your 45D with both of those, and it will automatically use the alternative public identifier. Now, with that said, I've had a few users over the last year say, hey, I don't love putting like bank account numbers on the internet. I just have some hesitation about that. That's fine. EstateAssist works completely fine without you putting in any kind of personal identifier. You don't have to use social security numbers. You don't have to use bank account numbers. Basically, you only have to use the information that you would want to go into pleadings, which are going on the public record anyway, right? So everything that you're comfortable putting out to a court and putting on the public record is all you really have to put into EstateAssist. And then, of course, you could keep a 45D on your computer if you prefer to keep that offline for filing with the court. I'll also mention something else about security. We do third-party penetration testing, where we have a security company that tests our software periodically, make sure that we're in compliance with the best standards for security. And all of our user data is stored on Amazon AWS, or Amazon Web Services platform. So we don't have like local servers sitting somewhere. Everything is run through Amazon with some of the best security in the world. So once we start creating receipts, we see them showing up down here. Again, we can order them and do things like that, but we see a lot of power start happening once we have them here. So for example, we've entered this Ford F-150 with some general information about the year, make, model, and VIN, and of course, value information and so on, and the certificate of title number and so on. And we've marked this one as being a motor vehicle that's going to a surviving spouse by statutory right. Similarly, we have a boat here that we've filled in the same kind of information, but we've checked this one as going to surviving spouse as a boat or motor. And so both of those, once we've done that, we have these affidavits show up over here in this distribution column. And, this allows us to have forms or pleadings that are specific to the asset, specific to the receipt. And so if we click on one of those, all that vehicle information pulls into the surviving spouse affidavit, so we can help our clients head down to the title office and get their titles switched over. Same with the boat. We have a different affidavit for boats and motors that can populate automatically to help them along. Same kind of thing. We have a probate vehicle here. Hamilton County has a 9C, what they actually call a 9.4. And that pops up automatically, completely populated with everything, all the information ready to go down and request the transfer of title. Let's take a look at this piece of real estate to see some more of this in terms of prepping documents for transfer of assets. We have a piece of real property here with all the information filled in, including we have a section for the survey description. Okay, and so we've got that typed in here. We have the ability with 6.1, 13.1, and 13.2 to have the description, have no description, have the typed up property description, or have an external exhibit, and then we can mark what the exhibit is. By the way, this currently says that the property description will be limited to 500 characters. We actually did make the decision earlier this week to take that guardrail off. So you are going to be able now to have as long a description as you want in your pleadings. But we can also do a separate exhibit if we wanted to make this, exhibit number 1 and just have it referenced. We can do that. We also see here that once we've entered the receipt information or the asset information, we can tell EstateAssist what we plan to do with it. So we can mark that it's transfer in kind or that's to be sold. And then if it's going to be sold, we can mark the different details, which I'm sure you'll recognize from some of the pleadings in the 5s and 10s areas. We can mark down some of those details about how we want to sell it. But if we intend to transfer it in kind, we can mark who we plan to have it go to and what their interests are. So all of our interested persons automatically show up here when we've entered them. They'll populate these drop downs. And then we have a whole bunch of potential interests, fractional and percentages that we can select. And if you had something really strange, you wouldn't have to use one of these. You can still personalize it in another screen, but these are automated ones. And the reason that's important to show you is now then we have our 12.0, which populates with information from the case to request our certificate of transfer. And then our 12.1, which automatically pulls those people that we selected in the drop downs and their fractional interests, and of course their addresses. And then on the second page, it populates with the property description, the attorney information, prior instrument reference, and so on. And so all of that information just happened automatically by selecting who we intend to transfer it to or who we want to apply to transfer it to. Then, of course, the time comes that it's time to go ahead and complete a transfer or a sale. And so we have this hot link in the disposal section. And so for every receipt, as you're going through, you can take, I'm sorry, I didn't pay attention. This is, all right, household personal property. You click that link and you'll automatically come to the section for disposition of the asset. And so it allows us to say it was transferred in kind to someone, or it was sold or liquidated or otherwise deposited. And so we can simply select one of those. We'll go ahead and put that this was sold, and we'll say that it was sold for $5,000. And we can select the date if there's a unique date to liquidation. That's usually not a big deal in the States because you have a wide window of time, but you can select the specific date if you want. You could select the specific date of deposit if you want. All those things default. If you don't enter anything, they'll just default to today to keep things current, keep things moving for you. We also see here that we can decide where that money gets deposited. And so EstateAssist will automatically track your estate account. But if you've created other accounts in your set of receipts, it will automatically populate those here as potential places where money could be deposited from a liquidated receipt. Just got a question here. Oh, yep, good question. Somebody's asking if we're going to be adding the 706, portability elections, and so on, and the answer is yes. One thing that you'll see down here at the bottom, we do have some things, the beginnings of some questions related to income tax and estate tax information. And yes, those are there so that we can start gathering information to help you populate everything. I'm not exaggerating when I tell you that our goal is for EstateAssist to be a singular tool that handles every part of your probate practice, that everything ends up in here to get away from the old tradition of bouncing from tool to tool. And we're going to see some more examples of that here in a minute. And so we've come here to this section on receipt disposition. We've marked that this was sold. And so we can go ahead and save that. We keep a button right there. And notice that that has now gone to green, telling us that, hey, this asset's done. It's all taken care of. It sold and it's all done. And actually, I didn't notice this asset had an original value of $5,000. I had typed in 5,000, but even that I didn't have to do, because notice here, it defaults the original value. So I could have even kept that blank, and when I saved it, it would have populated to 5,000 automatically. Okay. And so as we go through and we dispose of assets by noting that they've been transferred to someone, or they have been sold or deposited or what have you, everything starts going green so that we can see that our estate is getting wrapped up and the receipts are all being processed. All right. Now, on the note that I mentioned a moment ago, that our goal is for EstateAssist to be this singular tool that covers all of your probate administration needs. And by the way, I mean all in terms of estate administration, trust, guardianships, adoptions, name changes, and so on. The next thing that is a new feature that we just added, and we're very excited about it. A big part of any good legal practice, but especially I think the practice of probate law, is good communication. We want to keep people informed of things. And of course, when it comes to probate, that can include correspondence to courts, clients, our fiduciaries, interested persons with waivers and notices and things like that. And of course, financial institutions, as we deal with all these banks and other financial institutions when we're dealing with assets. And so you are now seeing a feature that just launched last week, which is that we have brought user correspondence into the EstateAssist platform to keep you from having to do all your work or all the work that a piece of software allows in the app, and then have to go to your correspondence somewhere else and be copying and pasting and typing things and all that. And so real quick, what we allow you to do now, this is an example of a letter. We've just taken a normal template form letter that you might use in your practice, and you replace those places where you would be typing or copying and pasting with a series of variable placeholders that we provide you. We've got a document on this that has all of these listed and what each one pulls. And so you sit down one day and you take some of your letters and you start plugging in these placeholders throughout, and they can go anywhere. Okay. Anything you want to fill in. We have, I don't know, probably about 40 or 50 different variables that you can use. Here's date of death and so on. And so you take those and you just paste those all into your regular correspondence and save that letter. EstateAssist then has an administrative screen that allows you to upload all those letters into your account. They're then just available in all of your cases. And EstateAssist will automatically, you can show it where you want them to be, which categories, and it will automatically put them in those categories and populate them with information. And so when we're here on the receipt screen, we have a couple of financial accounts, right, where we've entered the bank and the bank's contact information. And now we click that link and it's going to open Word and it's going to fill in all of your case information, filling those variable placeholders with all the details of your case. All right. And so you have the best of both worlds. You have the automation that we provide, but you have your own correspondence. So you don't have to use some cookie cutter generic letter that some software company has created. Instead, you can make all your own letters, all your own correspondence with your own letterhead, your own feel and look and fonts and whatever it is you like about your correspondence. But you put in a little bit of information and we're going to then populate those letters automatically for you. And you can click and print and get all that correspondence out. All right. We see the same thing if we go to our notice, waiver, and consent screen. We'll just use the hot link over here to get there. All of our letters that we've uploaded related to interested persons start showing up here, because this notice, waiver, and consent screen allows us to have personalized documents to all of our interested persons. So when we entered all those IPs on the interested person screen, they all show up on this screen with a personalized set of documents just for them. And that includes both all the standard notices, waivers, and consents. Okay, here's a waiver with the person listed in it. But also it has the local. All right, we have Hamilton local forms showing up down here. And then now we have your letters showing up. And this exists for every one of our IPs. And so we can go and click on any of the letters, and those are going to automatically show up as well, addressed to that person with all the case information and ready to go. Okay. And we're already hearing from a lot of our users that this is just saving them a ton of time. The ones that have already gotten some letters built out this week and added to the platform. It's really just automating correspondence, allowing them to get moving really quickly. With regard to waivers, notices, and consents, I will mention the pleading screen has them in group format. So if we go here and we want to, have everybody come to the office to sign, here's our 2.1 with everybody listed in. Okay. We do have a question while we're in the pleading screen. Somebody's asking if we type information into one of the PDFs, is it automatically going to save, or do we need to remember to hit save before leaving the page? Or maybe you're asking about on an entry screen. So I'm going to answer both questions, Sandy. If we're in an entry screen, like our case details, you have to click save to save this information. And we try to make that really convenient. You're going to see a save button up here, and then a save button down at the bottom. And sometimes, like on the receipt screen, we even have a save button kind of right in the middle, because we just want it to be really convenient for people to click save whenever they're working on a case. When it comes to the PDFs, you can save PDFs to your computer so that you have them with any extra information you've typed in. So if you've opened up a document and you decide to type a bunch of extra things in or click some boxes that were not clicked, you could then save that PDF to wherever you save your files. EstateAssist does not do cloud storage, which is to say we populate your documents as you request them. It automatically fills everything whenever you open a document, but we don't have you uploading documents back into the platform. I know I use a number of different softwares that all boast that I can have cloud software or cloud storage as part of their product. And if you're like me, I have a document management system. That's where I want to save all my case information. And so that's what we do with these. Right now, I would say that just estimating, EstateAssist probably populates something in the range of 80 to 90% of the fields of your pleadings, at least the standard pleadings. It's a pretty high percentage. And we literally sit down every week or two and kind of do an analysis to ask, is there another few questions we can build in somewhere in the product that will populate some more fields? We really want to get to the point that you don't ever fill in anything on the PDFs by hand, but instead everything is just being done by the software. So let's go back out to our dashboard. We've now seen receipts, and we've seen the personalized or specific receipt-specific forms for requesting transfers. We've seen the ability to go dispose of receipts very easily in the way that it tracks that. And then now we've seen the introduction to our new automated correspondence tools. Of course, disbursements are somewhat similar. If we click on our disbursements link, we can come here and add a new disbursement, which is just a few questions about a description, who's receiving the disbursement, the amount, the voucher number, if there's a voucher, the date of the disbursement. Currently, it allows you to select that it's paid from the estate account or not. So if you're cutting checks out of an estate account to pay bills or something, you would check this. If it's something like an in-kind transfer, you would not check this. You saw that we can now deposit into any account in the estate. Starting probably next week, you'll also be able to disperse out of any account. So this will have that same menu that drops down and allows you to select the different accounts. Disbursement types, of course, the different categories of disbursements. And I didn't point this out on receipts, but all over EstateAssist, we have places where you can keep notes. And so if you make a disbursement, you want to keep a note as to why you did that, you can type it in here. And then we do have sections for insolvency designations. And so that's going to start giving us all of our disbursements. Again, we can order those. Those are dated and the amounts and so on. By the way, when it comes to adding disbursements and adding receipts, we do allow the add buttons on both of those because we just know users might be in a case, they're doing some receipts, they're doing some disbursements, and it just allows you to move a little more quickly to be able to go up and add wherever you want to each of those. We mentioned our new Word document correspondence. We do have a correspondence icon, which also allows you to just fill in as many just general letters that you might want in a state. And those will all populate here with all of your information automatically filled. So here's a miscellaneous cover letter, say to the court. And so it'll go ahead and just populate with your case information to automatically submit documents to your court. And, you know, the court address and everything was automatic because it pulls it from our court database. We've got all the courts in the state of Ohio listed there. Our case information is here, our attorney information, carbon copy to our fiduciaries, all that information populated automatically, just using our form letters. We do have a case notes screen that allows us to enter notes as we're handling the case contemporaneously, and it's going to keep track of those who entered them and date stamp them. So if I enter that and save the note, it's going to note who made that note and the date, and we can delete it, but it is just going to list all those down there in chronological order so that you can sort of keep track of what's going on in your cases and save some time from having to ask people questions all the time and instead just seeing what's going on. Now, another really neat tool that is an evidence of us trying to bring everything about your probate practice into one platform is our estate account register. If we've been updating our receipts to say, hey, I liquidated the personal property and deposited in the estate account, and if we're updating our disbursements to say, oh, we paid a bill out of the estate account to pay the cell phone bill or something, then the software should have all the information it needs to tell us what the balance of that account is, right? It's all the deposits minus all the disbursements. And so we do have an automated estate account register. We can click this icon, and as things are being liquidated and deposited, they're entered in here as credits. As things are being paid out, they're entered in here as debits. And you see, we just entered this one earlier. We did the household personal property. We marked it sold and deposited, and there it is, just automatically populates in here. So you can be watching the balance of your estate account at any moment. And of course, checking it against statements from the bank to see what's cleared and things like that. And back to what I mentioned earlier, that we've been adding the other accounts in the estate here just in the last week or so for depositing and now for dispersing next week. And with that, you will also have registers for all of those. So they'll start tracking the balances of other accounts in your estate. So you have one place where you can go and see what you have in terms of cash on hand and so on. And I've actually found this to be really helpful in my practice. I never really paid attention to the issue maybe before, but you know, I carry my iPad when I go to client meetings, and it will not be unusual for a client to say, hey, you know, can we pay this bill? Do we have enough to cover that? And I can now just bring up my cases on my iPad, look at my estate account register and see exactly what our balance is and have an idea of what we have in terms of cash on hand without having to pester somebody. So really helpful tool. I don't know about you, but over the years, my team has used Excel spreadsheets, Word document grids, paper check registers, QuickBooks, you name it. We've tracked accounts in all sorts of different ways. And I just, you know, we feel fundamentally we don't want you to have to bounce from tool to tool. We want one platform that takes care of all of your needs. And so that's why we've built that in here. Again, we saw the personalized notice waivers and correspondence section, and that's going to bring us then to accounts. You know, we have been marking assets as received and things as paid out and things as liquidated. And because of that, then EstateAssist can automatically create accounts for us. And so it's going to fill in and do all the math for us. Again, we did not have to select, put this on that account, put this on that account. Everything just automatically fills in based on its categories, and all the math gets done automatically by the app. Our 13.1 is completely populated as well. Everything is categorized. We use the 13.0 recapitulation categories for our default. So we'll automatically break them down by section. But we do give you the ability to change some of those defaults. So those are up here at the top. You can decide, do you want categorized receipts and disbursements by those different sections? Do you want to show the gains and losses on liquidation to kind of help people understand where money was made or where things sold for less? Do you want to show the assets from previous accountings in a category or section? And of course, showing the date of disbursement. So just a few specifications or specific formatting options that you have. And so all your accounting documents will just populate automatically and be available. We do have a place where you can change user access to a case, so you can move cases between attorneys in your firm and assigning different staff members and things like that. And then we do have a couple of things we call these widgets. Tasks, you can enter in a task. And now that's going to be there as a reminder that that needs done. That can be deleted if you'd like, or once it's done, it'll be marked done and show up down there so that people can see that's been taken care of. And then also you can enter deadlines. Sitting here today, our deadline calculator sort of shows you the math, all the different dates that you need. It starts with all the dates of your case and tells you what the math is to determine those. We had kind of started out wanting users to have a lot of autonomy to set their own deadlines. A lot of the users have said, hey, we'd love for you to just do that for us. And so here pretty soon, probably later this month, maybe early next, we're just going to go ahead and turn it on so that those just automatically populate. You enter the dates for your case, and it's going to automatically give you your deadlines here and out on your main dashboard. You can see all your upcoming deadlines in chronological order. That takes us to another future piece. Because we're cloud-based, we will have some what are called API integrations. That's the way that you enter something in one place and it shows up in another piece of software. So things like Outlook calendars, Google calendars, things like that, will have the ability to connect your platforms together, and your dates can automatically be carried out to calendars and things. That'll be a feature that we'll be adding, I expect, later this year. So that's a quick run through for EstateAssist and just the different things that it's designed to do. And again, we have some things coming soon. We are consistently adding. One of the things that's very important to us, and no knock on other companies or the way they do things, but from day one, I knew that this was not going to just be a one-person show. This is not just me. I have an excellent team of people. I have a full-time developer that works with me just on this project and has for a couple years now. And, we meet literally 1 or 2 times every week just to work on the next piece and the next thing we want to do, and the next thing that a user's asked for, and the next thing that we think will clean up the platform and make it better. We are constantly iterating this to get the next best thing we can do. And we have a couple of contractors too that do different pieces for us and help us. So we've got a great group of people, and we're just constantly honing this into what we think is going to be a great piece of software. All right. And someone is asking about the possibility of a free trial month. And the answer is absolutely, we'll be happy to do that. And so by participating in our video today, if you are ready to try EstateAssist out, you will be able to do that by typing in that. When you go sign up for EstateAssist, let me make that big so everybody can see it nice and easily. When you go to sign up, you will go to EstateAssist.app. You will select the register icon. It's going to take you through and fill in some firm information. That's then automatically going to take you to the Stripe payment platform. Again, from a security standpoint, I want nothing to do with your credit card information. And so we use Stripe, which is a product of, I believe, Salesforce. It is, again, much like AWS, a preeminent tool in software and billing. And so you will enter your payment information into Stripe. And when you're there, down toward the left-hand corner, it will ask you if you have a payment coupon code. You will have to still enter your credit card information because Stripe can't be completed without it. But you can enter Atticus, ATTICUS, and that's going to get you 1 free month. And at least for one attorney. If you're going to add other people, they would start being billed. But if you just want to start with one attorney account, then you can have 1 free one for 1 month to try it out and see what you think. There are no long-term contracts. Everything is month to month. You're welcome to try it out. If it's not for you, send us an email and say you want out, and we will let you out. Any other questions? Oh, great question. So somebody asked, going back to accounts, are you able to select a date range or some other method of preparing multiple accounts for those unfortunate estates that can drag on for whatever reason? That's a really great question. And actually, I glossed over that a little bit, not intentionally, because we're kind of doing something in the reverse now, because you're absolutely right. So here's how creating accounts works. You come to the account screen and you click Create Account today. You select the type of account. Okay, so partial. You select a start date. You select an end date. And later you can add in when it's filed, but you save that and boom, there's your new account that we just selected. And it just automatically is going to populate with everything. All right, it's going to put in its time period. It's going to do all the math. And same with 13.1, it's going to have everything filled in. Again, just as you pointed out in your question, accountings are a window of time. So you can select any window of time and as many as you want. You could have 50 accountings in here, changing up the window of time. And every time EstateAssist just says, okay, let's look at all the receipts and all the disbursements and see what happened in that window of time. Now, I chuckled a little bit because this is how we began. And maybe I have too many estates that are dragging on, but I always knew from the start, I didn't want to have to go tell users, go back in and open all your receipts and click, add this to the next account, add this to the next account. That seems crazy to me. EstateAssist has always been created to say, just update your receipts, update your disbursements, select your window of time, and your accounting will happen. That's how I believe software should work. Some of our users, though, have said, hey, we have very few accounts that drag on. Most of our cases are one single final and distributive. And that's true. That's my experience too. And so probably tomorrow, actually, because we just did a big survey last month, and this is an important thing for you to hear. It's part of our culture here. You know, we try to survey our users. We had a big survey last month. We do user interviews. You know, we do a lot of things to try to listen to people and say, how can we make this better for what you want and the way your practice works? And since our launch 13, 14 months ago now, oh, I bet we've made, I bet we've made 50 changes at least to the product to meet people's requests and things that would make it better for them. And so out of this survey, a bunch of people said, hey, I know it's not a big thing, but I don't want to have to create a start date and an end date for my accounts. I just want to click a button that says accounts. And so we'll probably be adding that maybe tomorrow. We've got it in beta right now, tomorrow or early next week. You'll also be able to just say, open my 13, open my 13.1, just account for everything that's happened in this estate and assume that, you know, it's all in one accounting. But yes, this will always remain that you can create multiple accountings, just selecting your date ranges, and it'll take care of it. And then, of course, as you file things, you can mark to update that they got filed and save that. Great question. What other questions do you have? I will mention you've seen probate filings here. The guardianships and trust administrations are being finalized now. We kind of wanted to wait for that big survey last month to hear our users on some things about the way that things are designed to this point before we applied everything to those other two. And so we're expecting guardianships and trust administrations to both release next month in June. And so we'll have those added. And then, of course, as we said, we're going to have tax documents coming before too long. Somebody's asking a question, how do you save to your computer? So I take it you mean pleadings. So if you're wanting to save a pleading of some sort, and you can just use the same save functionality that you would anytime. So save here or save as if your browser allows it, but you just click save and you get that window that pops up. I'm not going to click that in front of you only because I don't know if that will open up to my client files. And of course I don't want anybody to see that. But these are just PDFs opening in your internet browser, just like if you were out, well, like if you went to the state Supreme Court website to pull up the fillable PDFs that they have there, and then you can, do save as to your computer. It's the same thing. Also, of course, if you're not familiar, I will show you this. You can do print, and pretty much all browsers and platforms allow like print to PDF. And if you do that, it will save as what I would call a static PDF. So the fields will no longer be fillable, but you click this and it's going to ask you, where do you want to save that PDF? And it's going to be a static PDF that can no longer be filled. So like for sending to clients and things like that. On that note, I will tell you one more thing that's down the way in the future. From day one, we have felt strongly that part of great software is going to be the ability for firms to get away from paper production and move more toward electronic signing and filing. And we are working quite a bit on building out a platform whereby your people are going to be able to sign their documents electronically using, an iPad or an iPhone or a smartphone or even a mouse on a computer. Obviously, the state Supreme Court issued an order, an instruction, I guess a rule of superintendents 2 summers ago now that said courts are to move toward electronic filing. We're watching courts, we're listening to them. They are sort of implementing that still today. Every couple months we hear of a court. Ashland County just issued their local rule about 3 weeks ago on this. But, everybody's moving toward the ability for electronic signatures and getting away from wet signatures. And we are going to be there ready for that as it happens. So, the time is coming probably late this year or sometime next year that you're going to have the ability to just direct your fiduciary clients or your interested persons to a web-based portal where they can sign all of their pleadings right there. I know that, today some people send things off to like DocuSign. We favor physical manipulation signing. So, our expectation is that people will have a field on their phone or something where they can sign with their finger, making the actual signature, and then it will come back to you. As we talk about often, our goal is to move the waiver process from, a week or 2, as it currently is for a lot of people, to a day. We want you to be able to send everything out by email to all of your interested persons. And then the next morning you come in and all of your waivers are signed. That makes good sense to us. And then of course, be able to upload those to the courts. Other questions? Oh, somebody asks questions about the cost of information on the program. We're completely transparent on that. There is a screen on our website at www.estateassist.app. There is a section on pricing, but I'll tell you right now, EstateAssist is $49 for each attorney account, $29 for each non-attorney account. Now, every attorney who will be an attorney of record has to have an account in your firm. That allows for them to have their information saved in there. It allows them to have their cases segregated and separated. Every attorney will have their own. Non-attorney accounts are much more optional. And by the way, there's an article on this on our blog, which is also on that website. But the quick explanation is, of course, first, if you're a solo attorney, you can just have one account in your name. If you're a solo attorney with one paralegal, you could have just one account, and that paralegal could be accessing your account, just logging in, because they're probably doing most of the data entry and preparation of documents and reviews and all the wonderful things that our wonderful paralegals do for us. Even if you had multiple attorneys, you could just have attorney accounts and have paralegals logging in and out of those. But as you get to multiple attorneys, if you're going to have one paralegal that's moving from case to case, that's really where it becomes valuable for them to have their own account. Because, for example, my firm is 4 attorneys and 6 support team members. And so, those paralegals are moving, like when they open their screen of open cases, they have privileges on cases from all sorts of attorneys, all 4 of us. And so Afton, my wonderful lead probate paralegal, she opens up her page here, and it's some cases of mine and cases of the other 3 attorneys too. She's seeing everything by having a paralegal account. As I said, we're month to month. Nobody is locked in anything long-term. You're certainly able to add and remove people as you see fit. What other questions do you have, or anything else you'd like to see while we're here? Well, the only other things I'll say, just from a kind of getting to know us standpoint, we feel very strongly about wanting to hear from users, wanting to hear from courts. I actually sent an email to a court the other day, and I've got another one that'll be going out today. When we were building this, and as we've built it, we have sat down with judges, magistrates, court clerks, and of course, attorneys around the state. We want to hear from people. There's not one way to do a lot of these things. People have different local practices, different local ways. We've learned that from a lot of people. And so we listen a lot. We ask people a lot. We take all those things into account, and we are constantly changing and tweaking things to be in compliance with what people want. Also, I'll mention on the note of local courts, all of our documents are straight from those courts. I had one of my users, a local court clerk, said they thought that our documents were somehow from somewhere else. They're not. We download all of our documents straight from the courts. That's why we use the PDFs. We get our standard forms straight from the Ohio Supreme Court. We get our local forms straight from the local counties' websites, so that they can be recognizing what they receive from us. And we send out letters now. We just started a program to send letters to the courts to ask for updates when they do have new forms. And of course, our users tell us when they come across new forms, and we try to get those updated very quickly. On the note of local forms, I almost forgot to show you something. It's kind of cool. At the Pliskin Institute last year, one of the judge panel members made a comment about the fact that they sometimes see local forms from other jurisdictions brought into their local court, and they love that it kind of teaches them about other things that can be done with local forms. And I missed pointing out, we listened to that at the Institute and then created this tool based on that. We have this button for all local forms. And so when you click that, you have all of our local forms in one place. All right. They are all populated, though, with your case information. So this case, we have situs or venued in Hamilton County. So I can go and just pick a form. So here's, I guess, all right, we'll take a form out of Cuyahoga County. We're going to open that, and notice it's the Cuyahoga County form, but it's going to fill in with Hamilton County case header information and everything. And so that just allows you to grab a form that you're aware of in another county that might be helpful and take it there. Let's see here. Can there be more space added for the name on the car transfer application to make sure it can take a long trust name or something? Yeah, we can take a look at that. We try to make fields pretty wide. We have, some terms that we use, like trust names and last names and things that are fairly long that we use for test cases. Shout out to those of you in Washington Courthouse, Ohio. We have some things like that we try to use to test to make sure that we have fields that are wide enough for things. But yes, anytime a user reaches out and says, hey, I've got a special use case, I'm seeing this just isn't long enough. Yeah, we widen those things. So I'll be happy to take a look at that question and see if there's something on that 9C or something that we need to widen more. Somebody's also asking about trust administration. Yes, in the month of June, Zach, we're going to have both guardianships and trusts are sitting in the back end right now. We wanted to wait until that survey last month was complete, because basically, as you can imagine, everything you're seeing here, this platform that we've been working through, it's a lot of the same code and functionality just applied to the guardianship pleadings and the trust administration pleadings. And so we wanted to hear back from users on another set of surveys and make a few tweaks, and then we'll take those live. We just didn't want to take everything live and then make those changes. So both guardianships and trust administrations will be live, and they will look, very similar to what you saw today. It's very much the same platform, simply applied in a different way. And then they are bringing some cool new functionalities. I'm not going to tell you what yet. You might have to come back for another training or sign up with us. But we have some really neat things when we think about, like, the fact that guardianships have this long-term nature to them, right? That if your office is anything like mine, the person comes running in, oftentimes, we have to reach out to them and say, hey, you're due for a guardianship accounting. They come running in with this shoebox full of papers. We have some features coming up that we want to use to get rid of the shoebox. We have some things that we want to allow us to track information better real time, so that our team, our staff, our paralegals are not having to fill in, 2 years of information when an accounting's due. All right. And then somebody asked, will the trust and guardianship be on the same platform, or we have to sign up under separate account? Great question. They will be on the same platform, and they will be at the same price. There's no additional cost for that. There's no additional cost for local forms, nothing like that. They're all just, as they go live, they're going to be right on here. Again, I can't emphasize enough, I feel passionately, and my team feels passionately about building something that improves all of our lives and our work. And that's really what drives this. Yes, we want to make money on it, and we have to charge for it, but we never want to gouge. We are just going to keep adding things to this, and we expect that price to remain the same for a long time. And so no other addition or anything like that for these things. They all just get added in as we go. I like this. Y'all are an engaged group. I like the questions. Do you have any other questions? Well, I will stay on here for a few more minutes. If anybody else does have any other questions, please feel free to post them in the chat. You're also welcome to email. Probably the easiest one is just support@EstateAssist.app. That's EstateAssist, one word, .app. And again, if you're ready to try it out, here's that coupon code to get you a free month for your first attorney account. And we look forward to hearing from you. Any other suggestions or thoughts or any other questions? We'd love to have you join our community. We have hundreds of users now, and sky's the limit. We have really exciting things coming.